This here is issue number 16 of the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers comic by Boom Studios. This issue continues from issue number 14 because 15 was a standalone story about Zordon, although there is a vague tie-in towards the end of this issue. So Billy and Trini are surrendering to Lord Drakon, but Billy has some things to say first. He's figured out how Drakon is warping powers. And then we go back to the main universe with Rita telling the present Trini to surrender. So once again this story shows the events of both timelines occurring simultaneously. And it works well because the conversations and the actions between the characters in both timelines are almost seamless. So future Trini was able to get close to Lord Drakon, whilst Billy was talking and stalling for time. Present Trini didn't surrender and fought her way out of trouble. And then we see both Trinis do something unexpectedly. Future Trini was able to shock Drakon and the sentries close to him, whilst present Trini gained the Black Dragon's armour. It turns out that Trini reprogrammed the Black Dragon to synchronise with her in case of an emergency. She defeats the Goldars and retrieves Billy's power coin. She then uses the Black Dragon's technology to energize the power coin, which grants the Power Rangers access to the Triceratops Dinozord. And at the same time the Power Rangers' own powers return. Finally, they're back in their own colours because the whole Green Ranger thing got really old really fast, and Kimberly even says, "Thank God they do not look good in green." It was cool to see at first because it was something different, but then it dragged on for a while. Anyway, with access to Billy's power coin, the Rangers could finally summon the Megazord. Rita, defeated in this battle, tells Trini she's seen hundreds of Zordon's minions fall before her. It's typical bad guy dialogue after defeat, but what's interesting here is that Zordon had hundreds of minions before. Were they past Power Rangers? He had hundreds in this universe, whilst in the TV show, there were a handful of past warriors under Zordon, such as the soldier who fought the Nasty Knight on Tarmac 3, which was actually just footage of Goshi from the Japanese counterpart series Julenja. Rita retreats as she doesn't want to face Trini, and then we get an Iron Man-like shot of Trini inside her Black Dragon Power Rangers synced helmet. It looks good for sure, and shows how modern this interpretation of Mighty Morphin Power Rangers is. The Megazord is defeating the Goldars, but one approaches the real Goldar from behind, taunting him, saying how Rita wants to replace him. But it seems real Goldar turns and stabs the other Goldar, and then walking away, leaving him for dead. Brutal, but similar to what Goldar did towards the end of Boom Studios' Pink series, when he killed Verto. The Megazord then defeats the last of the giant Goldars, and the Rangers regroup at the command center. Trini is attempting to use the Black Dragon to pry open a portal into the alternate universe after picking up an energy surge from the Triceratops power coin of that world. And in that world we see Drakon powerless, with his morpher burned out. Tommy tells him to surrender. Drakon's reinforcements attack the other Rangers, so Zack gets the coinless to return fire. Meanwhile, Drakon and Tommy go head to head, both armed with dragon daggers, but Tommy having the upper hand, as he's also got Saber. During this battle, Drakon tells Tommy he's weak because he needs the help of his friends, but Tommy tells him he's okay with that. Considering how Tommy was an outcast at the start of the series, it's great to see him finally accept his place on the team, compared to how Lord Drakon turned out. So then the Power Rangers come through the portal and Jason immediately gets Kimberly and Zack to take out Lord Drakon's tanks. And Bulk is even providing backup as he mans a turret. We then return to Tommy and Drakon finishing their battle. It's not like one outfought the other, as they seem to end in a stalemate. But Drakon doesn't seem to want to surrender or admit defeat in any form, and he falls backwards, freely plunges from a cliff, seemingly committing suicide. With the Power Rangers here, Drakon's forces are unable to cope, so Scorpina orders everyone to retreat. With the bad guys gone, the two Zack and Trinis come face to face. Zack is able to make light of the situation by saying he still looks great when he's older. And in real life that seems to be the case, as Walter Jones, who played Zack, has aged quite well. Present Zack has a lot of questions for future Zack, but he tells him he's seen enough time travel movies to know that's not a good idea. First thing that came to mind was Back to the Future, when in 1955, Doc tore up the letter from Marty, warning him of his death in 1985. But future Zack does give him one piece of advice, and that's to tell the other Rangers about Rita's offer to him about being the Green Ranger before Tommy, because they'd be okay with it and Zack would feel better. Billy is impressed with Trini for using the Black Dragon for chronal transport energy, whilst Kimberly and Jason look on from afar, thinking it's like no time has passed. Future Zack approaches Jason and Kimberly and gives them a hug, as he hasn't seen his own world's versions for a long time. Future Trini tells Billy it was a pleasure getting to know Billy again, and then the Power Rangers begin to return home. But Dracon appears to be caught in the portal as well. The Rangers return to the command center, and Zack asks Saba what he is. It's here that Saba tells everyone that he's a tether for Zordon. He produces an image of Zordon and informs them that once a stasis tube is built again, he can be redirected back to that world. With the good news, the Rangers look forward to rebuilding the command center as a team. The Rangers return to their everyday lives, with Tommy reuniting with his mother. Tommy speaks to Bulk and Skull for their podcast and tells them there's always hope. Unaware of what he and the other Rangers have been through, Bulk is unimpressed that it took him 4 weeks to put that together, whilst Skull thought it was nice. A nice nod to the TV series where Skull's opinions sometimes differ from Bulk's. The Rangers then walk into school, and we see Zack and Tommy are better friends now compared to the early issues of the comic. But things don't exactly end there, as Dracon winds up somewhere else with lights shining down on him from helicopters, and he's surrounded by what appears to be the US Army. Now it says to be continued, so there must be plans for Dracon in the future. But I think we're done with the alternate timeline for now. After 16 issues of mostly Tommy-based storylines, I think it's a relief we're done with this side of the story. A big complaint by fans was that this was really dragging on. I agree with them, but the ending of this story arc more than made up for it, and it's great to look forward to something new.